Welcome to the Plato Paradigm, a paradigm shift in reading Plato's dialogues. Episode 64, Euthyphro 14b to c. Socrates had just asked Euthyphro what the gods accomplish by means of humans, who are supposedly the slaves of the gods, according to Euthyphro. But instead of answering what exactly the gods do, last time he said that they did many and fine things, which wasn't good enough, as Socrates showed. This time, Euthyphro avoided saying what the gods do and instead said what the humans do. Humans pray and do pleasant things, things which the gods like, and those pleasant things are the hosia, holy things, while humans who disrespect the gods, displease the gods, and the displeasing things that they do are anosia, unholy. At least we get an answer about the holy and the unholy, but this isn't what Socrates had asked. But Euthyphro implied that the humans do and pray in the way that they do in order to prevent the gods from refraining from doing the things that they do for the family and the polis. In other words, he's assuming that we all know that the gods actually provide humans with all our needs. We also saw that this ties in with Euthyphro's obsession with miasma, pollution, which is when something perceived to be disrespectful to the gods causes a pollution which is a manifestation of the gods refraining from doing good things. And the longer humans avoid trying to placate the gods, the worse it gets. The pollution begins with the individual, and then the family of the individual, and then the polis of the individual. Interestingly, Socrates doesn't thank Euthyphro for giving him a definition of the holy, but instead complains that Euthyphro isn't teaching him, because Euthyphro didn't answer Socrates' last question. E polymo e dia brachiteron o Euthyphron e ebulu epes an to kephalaion hon eroton. You could have told me, Euthyphro, if you had wanted, through much shorter words, the main thing of the things I was asking. Alagar u prothumos me e didaxai delos e. But you aren't eager to teach me, that's clear. The Greek says you are clear. In other words, you clearly don't want to teach me. You're not eager to teach me. Kaigar nun epede epauto est apetrapu ho e apekrino hikonosan ede parasuten hosiote et emematheke. For now, when you were at it, you turned away. It which, if you had answered, I would by now have learned sufficiently from you holiness. What is Socrates talking about? Hasn't Euthyphro just told us what the holy is? Or rather, holy things. Holy things are the things pleasing to the gods, which encourage the gods to benefit us, while displeasing things are the things which cause gods to turn away from us in anger. Those are the unholy things. The things pleasing to the gods are achieved by humans through prayer and action. He doesn't specify which actions yet. Why then does Socrates say that Euthyphro has avoided telling him what the holy is? What Euthyphro has avoided telling Socrates is what the therapeia of the gods is. In Socrates' other examples of therapeia, he had construed therapeia as techne, craft, skill, albeit techne pertaining to servants. Thus a doctor aims at health, a builder aims at a house, a farmer aims at produce, but these are all servants in that they help somebody else, whoever it is who wants the product. Socrates knows what he's doing. This does not conform with the therapeia of the gods. It's not as if humans create something which is for the benefit of the gods. And it was a foregone conclusion that Euthyphro would not say anything comparable to the other examples which Socrates had given. If Socrates had hoped that Euthyphro himself would realize the problem here, Socrates must be sorely disappointed again. Socrates now turns to the answer Euthyphro has given. Nunde anankegarton eronta to eromeno akoluthen hopean ekenos hupage. But now you see it's necessary for the questioner to follow the questioned wherever that one leads off. Socrates is describing a practice in dialectic whereby the one being questioned, who is the one who is supposed to be trying to learn something, is the one who leads the discussion apparently, while the dialectician asks questions pertaining to the apparent opinions of the questioned, but in fact the dialectician is the one who leads the discussion, using questions which guide rather than lead. As if we needed an example of this, Socrates now asks, Tide au leges to hosion enai kai tein hosioteta, uhi epistementina tu thuen te kai euchestai, egoge. So again, what are you saying that the holy and holiness are? Are you saying that they are some understanding or knowledge, episteme, of sacrificing and praying, a knowledge of how to sacrifice and pray? I am. People tend to use techne and episteme interchangeably, but in fact there is a distinction between them. Episteme is understanding or knowledge, which is the theoretical side of techne, while techne itself is the practical application of this knowledge or understanding. For example, a carpenter has episteme, knowledge or understanding of how to make a table, but he also has the ability to make a table. He can apply his knowledge or understanding, and this is his techne. Socrates' question, therefore, has led us straight back to techne again, this time in the guise of episteme, while earlier it was in the guise of therapeia. Euthyphro had just been saying that the holy things, the hosia, are those things pleasing to the gods which humans pray for and do, and not a techne in itself. Earlier, he had said that the holy was that part of justice which is the therapeia of gods, which Socrates took to be a techne, without saying the word techne, and now Socrates himself has suggested that the holy is episteme, so he's back to saying that the holy is a techne itself and not the products of a techne. We can already predict that this is doomed to failure because it isn't actually the humans who achieve anything, it's the gods who do things. The gods are the ones with techne, if we can say that they have techne. Euthyphro is happy with this definition, probably because he thinks that It's about him. He's the one who understands the holy. Before it was understanding mythology, but now it's understanding how to pray and do things which are pleasing to the gods. This is also something Euthyphro, from the beginning, thought that he was capable of by prosecuting his father. He said that the holy is what he does now, what he's doing now, which is prosecuting his father. So the actual content of the holy shifts, but the idea of Euthyphro being the one who's an expert at the holy never changes. It might be worth considering whether Socrates deliberately uses episteme rather than techne here, because Euthyphro likes the idea that he is the one who understands. But in all the cases where Euthyphro understands the holy, he also applies his knowledge. And this makes it a techne, and Euthyphro becomes an expert, a sophos, at the techne of the holy. For example, when he was an expert on myth, he applied his knowledge to his prosecution of his father. He applied his knowledge to discussing what should be done in the public assembly. Everybody else laughed at him for using mythology as the basis for determining policy, but the fact remains that Euthyphro himself applied his knowledge. It turns out that Euthyphro always does what he does with an eye to pleasing the gods, which is why he is prosecuting his father. It's in order to please the gods and to avert the miasma affecting his family as he sees it. Euthyphro's desire to please the gods is not motivated out of the goodness of his heart, but rather he is terrified of their anger. When they are angry, they refrain from doing all the good things that benefit the family and the polis. It's this which drives him to prosecute his father, a clear case of disrespect of one's elders. But Euthyphro is such an expert on Greek mythology that he can point to cases where gods overthrow their fathers, as if that is a parallel to prosecution in a court of law. We may now see that understanding, or simply having a knowledge of how to pray and do good things, is insufficient. You must be able to apply this knowledge to have any positive effect on the gods. Therefore, episteme here is clearly standing in for techne. And Socrates steers the conversation once again back to the topic of techne.